What I'm about to reveal will challenge everything you thought you knew about being a good person. This isn't your typical self-help advice about spreading more love and light. Instead, we're diving deep into a psychological truth that Carl Jung, one of history's most brilliant minds, uncovered through decades of research into human nature. If you've ever wondered why your endless generosity seems to backfire, why people take advantage of your kindness, or why the more you give of yourself, the emptier you feel inside, then this video will finally give you the answers you've been searching for. Jung discovered something that most people find deeply uncomfortable. Those who try hardest to be perfect human beings often end up suffering the most. But why does this happen? And more importantly, how can we break free from this self-destructive pattern? In our society, we've created an impossible standard for what it means to be truly good. We're told that kindness means never saying no, that love requires endless sacrifice, and that putting ourselves first is somehow selfish or wrong. This creates what I call the saint complex, the belief that our worth as human beings depends on how much we can give up for others. But here's what Jung realized that most people miss. This isn't actually kindness at all. It's fear dressed up as virtue. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being seen as anything less than perfect. When we build our entire identity around being the good one, we're not just limiting ourselves, we're setting ourselves up for psychological disaster. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to be only light without any darkness. What you'd get isn't a brighter light, you'd get something artificial, unsustainable, and ultimately destructive. If this is already hitting home for you, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because we're just getting started. And what comes next might completely transform how you see yourself and your relationships. Jung introduced us to the concept of the shadow. And no, this isn't some mystical concept. The shadow represents all the parts of ourselves that we've been taught to hide, deny, or suppress. For people who pride themselves on being endlessly kind, the shadow becomes their greatest fear. Their entire sense of self is built on being the helper, the giver, the one who never causes problems. The idea that they might have needs, desires, or heaven forbid anger threatens to shatter their carefully constructed identity. But here's the psychological truth that Jung discovered. What we resist persists. When we push down our natural human emotions and needs, they don't disappear. Instead, they grow stronger in the darkness, eventually emerging in ways we can't control. This is why overly kind people often experience explosive anger that seems to come from nowhere, deep resentment toward the very people they're trying to help, passive-aggressive behavior that they don't even recognize, a growing sense of emptiness despite being surrounded by people, chronic fatigue that no amount of rest can cure. The person who never allows themselves to feel angry doesn't become more peaceful. They become a walking time bomb. The person who never sets boundaries doesn't become more loving. They become an emotional martyr whose relationships are built on imbalance and dysfunction. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real life. You know that person who's always available for everyone else's crisis but never seems to have their own needs met? Who gives and gives until they're running on empty, yet somehow feels guilty for even thinking about their own well-being. This person pays a price that goes far beyond simple exhaustion. They're paying with pieces of their soul. Every time they ignore their own needs for someone else's convenience, every time they swallow their words to keep the peace, every time they say yes when everything inside them is screaming no, they're not just being kind. They're engaging in a form of slow-motion self-destruction. The relationships this creates aren't healthy partnerships. They're addictive cycles. Others become addicted to their endless availability, while they become addicted to being needed. It's codependency masquerading as love. And here's the cruel irony. This excessive kindness doesn't just harm the giver, it actually stunts the growth of everyone around them. When we constantly rescue others from the consequences of their actions, when we're always there to clean up their messes, we rob them of the opportunity to develop their own strength and resilience. So what's the solution? Jung's answer might surprise you. We need to embrace our shadow, not eliminate it. This doesn't mean becoming cruel or selfish. It means recognizing that our capacity for anger is just as sacred as our capacity for love. That our need for boundaries is just as important as our desire to give. That our personal power and our compassion can and must coexist. True kindness isn't the absence of darkness. It's the conscious integration of every part of who we are into a complete, authentic whole. When we stop running from our shadow and start dancing with it, something miraculous happens. We discover that what we thought was our greatest weakness is actually our greatest source of strength. The anger we've been suppressing, it becomes our compass, showing us where our boundaries need to be stronger. The selfishness we've been ashamed of, it transforms into healthy self-care that allows us to give from abundance rather than emptiness. The power we've been afraid of, it becomes the foundation for a kindness that's truly transformative. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with some concrete steps. First, start recognizing your patterns. Notice when you're giving out of fear rather than love. Pay attention to the resentment that builds up after you've once again sacrificed your own needs. Second, practice saying no. Start small. You don't have to become a different person overnight, but begin setting small boundaries and notice what happens, both within yourself and in your relationships. Third, get comfortable with disappointment, both yours and others. The people who are used to your endless availability might not like it when you start honoring your own needs. That's their issue to work through, not yours to fix. Fourth, reclaim your right to take up space. Your needs matter. Your dreams matter. Your energy is precious and deserves to be protected. What Jung discovered, and what I want you to understand, is that true transformation is an alchemical process. It's about taking the raw materials of our human experience, both light and dark, and consciously crafting them into something greater than the sum of their parts. When we achieve this integration, we develop what I call conscious kindness. This isn't kindness that flows from compulsion or fear. It's kindness that comes from choice, from strength, from a deep understanding of our own worth. People who reach this state have a particular presence about them. They don't need to prove their goodness constantly. They don't drain themselves trying to fix everyone around them. They give generously when it's appropriate and hold back when boundaries are needed. And they do both without guilt or apology. This is the kind of person the world desperately needs. Someone who understands that real strength includes the wisdom to know when not to use it. That true compassion includes the discernment to know when saying no is the most loving thing you can do. I want to hear from you in the comments below. What's one boundary you've been afraid to set because you thought it would make you less kind? Share your story. Your courage might be exactly what someone else needs to see today. And if this message resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is help someone else discover their own power. The path Jung outlined isn't easy, but it's the only way to true freedom. It's the difference between being a candle that burns itself out, trying to light the world, and being a lighthouse that radiates its own sustainable light to guide others safely home. You don't have to choose between being kind and being powerful. You don't have to sacrifice your own well-being to prove your worth. You don't have to carry the weight of everyone else's emotions to be considered a good person. What you do need is the courage to be authentically, completely yourself, shadows and all. The world doesn't need more martyrs burning themselves out in service to others. What it needs is more whole human beings who understand that their own healing, their own growth, their own well-being isn't selfish, it's essential. Because when you finally learn to integrate every part of yourself, when you stop running from your power and start wielding it consciously, when you transform your compulsive kindness into conscious compassion, that's when you become truly capable of changing not just your own life, but the lives of everyone around you. The question isn't whether you're good enough as you are. The question is, are you ready to become whole? Your journey toward authentic power and conscious kindness starts now. The shadow you've been running from is waiting to become your greatest teacher. Are you ready to meet it?